says she's coming, but she may be late. She'll come via Zoom.
I've heard from a number of people, they're probably coming in late, so we'll just be attentive. Okay, so again, I'm Chris Vallon. I am chair of the Finance Committee portion of this meeting. I'm also a mother of two recent graduates. Let's go around the table this way.
Hi, I'm Shonda Merrill, Assistant Superintendent for Business here at Greenburgh Central School District.
That's what I'm Assistant Superintendent of Schools.
I'm Jackie Burton, a member of the district's communication team.
Wolf Simon, member of the Facilities Committee and former chair of the planning board.
Amy Geddes, I'm president of the Bailey PTA. Rebecca Campbell, trustee, parent of a recent graduate, a current ninth grader, and I'm part of the CEC Committee.
And walking into the room,
Tracy Mears, Board of Ed member, parent of a graduate, parent of two current students, and member of the CEC Committee.
and helping us with our technology,
Luke Johnson, Network Administrator.
and trustee Warner.
Yes, I'm Trustee Warner, board member, parent of a Woodlands 2014 graduate, and sufferer from COVID, which is why I'm on this Zoom.
Okay, Dr. Perkins.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Betty Perkins and founder and CEO of Today's Students, Tomorrow's Teachers, and I'm a resident right in your backyard here in Stone Oaks, and been a fan of the district for almost 40 years.
And Ms. Woodward.
Good evening, Verily Woodward, community member, parent of three daughters, 10th grader at Woodlands, two 6th graders at R.J. Bailey, and 2nd grade teacher at Highview School.
Just walking into the room is Mr. Miguel. I'm going to call your name out.
Miguel Barrios?
Okay, and we have heard from a number of community members that will be called. Ms. Jones, would you like to introduce yourself? You're muted, Ms. Jones.
You want to hear me talk or actually?
Yep.
Okay.
For now.
What did you want me to say? I didn't hear what you said before.
We're just introducing each other before we get to the meat of the
Oh,
meeting.
okay. All right.
So welcome, Ms. Jones. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
As people come in, we'll admit them, but I'm going to immediately turn the meeting over to our Assistant Superintendent of Business, Shonda Miller.
Thank you. Before we get started with our presentation, I just want to note that there are handouts on the table over here. So if you haven't grabbed one, there's an agenda, there's a couple, the presentation is there, and an appropriated status report as well. The other thing I want to say before I turn it over to Dr. Chisholm, who will be starting our presentation, is the presentation will be on the budget website of the district page, probably in a day or two. But it is currently available in last night's meeting board doc. We have it in English and Spanish for all. How can we pull up the presentation?
Let me share it for everyone, and then I'll bring it up right now.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
So for some of you, this may be a repeat. But for others of you, this may be the first time you have this presentation and you were not present or didn't observe the board meeting last night. So we're going to give you the exact same presentation to you again this evening.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chisholm, who's going to start the presentation.
Thank you. So again, welcome to everyone here. This is the formal presentation of the superintendent's proposed budget for 2026-2027. This budget, again, is really a result of extensive collaboration with our building principals, our district directors, as well as other community partners. It really represents our commitment to our students as well as our community. So one of the things we always want to do is start with our vision, mission, motto, and our tagline, really soaring together for a greater Greenburgh. I won't read all of these, but I just want to always make sure that we ground our work and the work that we do on behalf of our students in this district around these 4 pieces here, and specifically around our 4 pillars of SOAR: student success, operational excellence, attracting and retaining top talent, as well as responsive relationships. So our budgetary beliefs, we start that all budgetary decisions must be made through the filter of students first. We must continue to ensure that our district and our school staff, professional learning and instructional needs are supported, and that all allocated resources must support the vision, mission, and goals of the district, as well as our strategic plan. And so thinking about some of the factors that play an integral role in our decision-making process, students first, very student-centered, thinking about the strategic alignment. We always want to make sure that we're using a consistent lens that balances our fiscal stewardship and equity and access. So we must meet our legal obligations and compliance requirements as well, while remaining responsible to our taxpayers. So when we think about our budgetary process and development through our strategic plan alignment, again, the budget is the financial expression of our strategic plan. Our goals, ranging from infrastructure to maintaining a premier workforce, are the building blocks to ensure our students meet the standards of our ID student profile. We are investing in instructional staff, SEL resources, social emotional learning, as well as technology to maintain this alignment. So some of the major drivers of this work, when we're thinking about things that impact our budget, we're talking about salaries, we're talking about those contractual obligations, we're talking about benefits, insurance increases, the employee contracts and contractual negotiations, our student enrollment program mandates, such as programs to support our students with disabilities and multilingual language learners, as well as transportation costs associated with our students or out of district placements, following the utility services that we have.
Okay, so before I go on to the slide, I just want to start by saying that the budget development process started several months ago. We started by meeting with all of our building and department leaders, went over what their needs were, what their wants were. So some of the things that you are going to see in the budget coming out of those meetings. It's important to note that this is a proposed budget. It is not final by any means. We are looking for feedback. We got a lot of feedback last night at the board meeting, and we'll be looking for feedback from our community tonight and moving forward. And I would expect changes in presentations moving forward. Probably not this week, but at our the next board meeting, which is March 25th, any updates that are going to be made to the budget will be presented at that time. So we're going to move on to some additions that we are, there are additional positions that we are proposing in the 26-27 budget. We are looking at 4 building-based substitute teachers. We are looking at 3 security aides, 2 custodial staff, and 1 security coordinator. Some of the reductions and reallocations that we would be looking for in the 26-27 budget would be a full-time music teacher at the elementary level, a part-time clerk. It's a records management position that has been vacant most of this year. I do want to mention that the music teacher is also currently a vacant position, so these reductions would not affect any of our current staff. And some of the savings that we were looking to get on our retirements, we look for breakage. Breakage is basically the difference between our employees that have been here for a long time that are retiring, and they're on top step usually or high up on the salary schedules. When we look to replace them, we're not replacing them on as high of a step. So there is a difference between the new employee coming in and the long-term employee that is retiring out. So we do have 5 retirements that we were able to get some cost savings on breakage there. So we're going to go into the property tax tab next. On this slide to the right is the projected 2026-2027 property tax cap. We are proposing a 3.57% tax cap at a total of $69,758,625. With, to stay under the 2% cap, we could actually go up as high as 6.14%. But we want to be very conservative and stay well below that number. And we were able to obtain everything we needed in our budget at 3.57%. To the left on this slide, you will see what the actual property tax cap was for the 25-26 school year. It was 67 million. Wait, no, hang on. Yeah, the screen is kind of far, but I can see 69,758,625. So let me back it up because the number that I gave at the top was actually incorrect because I was reading the top of the screen and not the bottom. Our proposed tax levy of 3.57% is actually 72,250,599. So at my previous presentation that I did, I went over the property tax cap calculation. So if you're wondering what all these numbers in the middle are, they are basically the calculation that we are given from OSC, which is the Office of the State Controller's Office, as to how we calculate the property tax cap levy. And you know, for simple majority, we need to stay under the 2%. The 2% is prior to adding in any of our capital exclusions. So that's why we're able to come in at 3.57% and still stay far below our maximum amount of 6.14. I will say that it is a reduction from the current year tax levy, which was 4.06%. Okay, so we're going to go into the expenditures, which is the main part of the budget. And here we have it categorized in different categories. So we have our salaries, and you can see that for 26-27, we do have an increase to our salary lines of about 4.49%. It's important to note that we will have several bargaining units that are either currently in negotiations or will be in negotiations for the next school year. We have our benefits line. There is an increase here. The one thing that I will say about the benefits that did help us a lot this year is the teachers' retirement system. They dictate to us what the percentage is that we have to pay for our employees. And it actually is going to be reduced for next school year. So currently this school year, we're at 9.59%, and it is being reduced down to 8.24%. And that reduction really helped offset the increase that we're going to have for the employees' retirement system. They are increasing from 16.4% to 17.7%. We also have our health insurance, which increases every year as well. It is a composite rate of 8.7%. That includes a rate of 7.8 for our active staff and 9.9 for our retirees that are Medicare primary. Moving down the list, we have our equipment budget. We're not proposing an increase there. We have supplies and textbooks. Again, we're not proposing an increase there. We have our contractual obligations. We see a slight increase of 4.59%. We do have our BOCES line. It does look like there's quite an increase. And what I will say is that BOCES does increase from year to year, but a big portion of this increase here is that we have an increase in our special education through BOCES. We took on some additional students now, and so we're preparing to carry them into the next school year as well. We have our debt service line. This line does show an increase here of $845,000. And what that increase is the ban. So when you take a ban out, the first year there is no payment, but you do have to start making payments in the second year. So the $845,000 is due to the ban. The other debt service that we are currently paying this school year was for our energy performance contract. And we have our interfund transfers totaling a reduction there of $485,652. Somebody wants to get in, Lou.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. So overall, our expenditures in our proposed budget is an increase of 4.30%, totaling $3,614,827.
Sorry, one second.
It's
There you
not moving. Thank you. This slide here is showing a piece of our capital interfund transfer. On the prior page, you may have noticed that the transfer is more than what's listed on here. And that's because that line includes a transfer to our federal fund. The general fund does need to support some of our federal programs in the summer, some of our programs during the school year. We do have a percentage to pay, 20% and things like that. So on this slide, we're going to look at the capital interfund transfer of $514,348. So what this is our audit from our external auditors. Over the last 2 years, there's been a comment that a couple of years ago, we went over budget on these 4 projects. And what happens, what needs to happen when you go over budget on a capital project is the general fund needs to make it whole. So that is what we are looking to do in the 26-27 budget, is to clean this up. And this did come as a recommendation from our auditors. Next, we're going to move on to look at our revenue budget. So basically, when you build a budget, your revenue, which is your money coming in, needs to match your money going out, your expenditures. So if you see, we have a balanced budget right now. Our proposed 26-27 revenue is $87,773,325. That does match our proposed budget. And what you can see on this slide, and to the left, we're showing what the current revenue is for 25-26 and what the proposed revenue is for 26-27. It shows you the change in dollars and then the change in percentage. So you can see that our primary source of revenue is our real property taxes. That's pretty common in all school districts. That's where, you know, property taxes is where we actually get the money to fund most of our budgets. And that matches our property tax cap at 3.57% for that increase. The next line is our pilots. You're going to see a decrease there. That is because we currently have 3 pilots, and of which one of them is going to be going back on the tax roll in 26-27.
You've confirmed.
Yes, I've confirmed that with the town controller. The third line down is our sales tax. So we do receive revenue from Westchester County for sales tax. Then we have our tuition. Tuition is for students that we take in and provide services to through special education. It's also for students that are that live in our district that don't live in our district that we provide health services for. So we do see, we are predicting an increase there. So our revenue is $1,700,000 that we expect next year to get in that area. Then we have our interest earnings. We are increasing that line by $250,000. So I do think it's obtainable to get interest earnings on the money that we have in our high yield savings accounts, totaling $1,250,000. State aid is another one of the biggest sources of revenue that we get. And of course, that is an unknown at this time. This is coming off of the Governor Hochul's projection, but we won't have the exact numbers until probably around the beginning of April, when hopefully the budget passes on time this year. I know last year it was about a month late. And then we have other revenue. So other revenue includes a variety of different sources. It could come from rental fees that we collect, insurance recoveries. Sometimes we get refunds of prior year expenses. unclassified, it's any other money that comes in that is outside of these typical categories. So we're gonna go on to talk about how how the property tax cap that we are proposing would impact our taxpayers. Some of these numbers that you see on here were given to us from the assessor's office in the town of Greenburgh. So at the top, we're looking at a proposed tax levy of 3.57%, would total $72,250,599. The town assessment for currently as of March 1st is $5,269,330,456. What you see on this line is you do see a reduction from last year, 2024 to 2025 of a little over $3 million. That caught my attention as soon as I saw it. So I called the assessor's office to ask why there would be a reduction in total assessments for the town. And they said that that reduction is due to property owners having their properties reassessed and lowered. So what we do is we take the tax cap and the total assessment for the town, and we're able to calculate out a tax rate per 1,000 of property value. So we came up with, we're going from 13.23 of 25-26 to 13.71 in 26-27. At the bottom, we give an example. The average single family home assessments, those numbers came from the assessor's office. So in 2024, we saw $707,400 for an average single family home assessment. And in 2025, that increased to $744,502. We break that down to how much per 1,000 would somebody be charged on their tax bill. And you see at the bottom, there's an example that in 2024 with that assessment, that tax bill would come to $9,358.90. In 2020, next year, 2026, that will total $10,208.26. So that is an increase of just under $850 for the year. At the bottom of the slide, we've broken it down. So you can see that the $848.88 annually breaks down to, it's hard for me to see the numbers on the side.
$70.74 per month, $16.32 per week, or $2.33 per day.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of funding your school's budget. So why is this investment important? Strong schools lead to stronger student outcomes, more diverse opportunities, and they help bridge the achievement gap. Furthermore, great schools attract families and businesses and drive community growth. So we want people to want to come to Greenburgh school districts, to move into our community, and to provide the best education for our students here. So we're hoping that the community will support our budget, but there are numerous benefits to funding and supporting a school's budget. So we just want to talk a little bit about some of the next steps coming up in the 26-27 budget development. We did have a board meeting last night. We got lots of great feedback from the Board of Education. We are here tonight presenting to you. We will be here at RJ Bailey. What's that?
At 2 o'clock.
Oh, this Saturday, March 14th, we will be presenting at the PTA's meeting at 2 p.m. We do have our next board presentation on Wednesday, March 25th. I just want to note, just in case anybody didn't notice, but that board meeting, the date did have to be pushed out a day. So just take note to that. I don't want anyone to show up on the 24th and we're not going to be there. This is basically a timeline of all of the different budget events that we're doing. This, in a different format, is available on the budget page on the district website. We're hoping that the community will give us feedback, come out and, participate in our budget workshops, because your voice matters. We really want to get feedback from the community. At the bottom of the page, we do have an email. It's budget@greenburghcsd.org. And any questions or concerns or feedback you'd like to give us, if you don't want to publicly say it, we would love to have you email, and we'll be sure to, respond promptly. We just want to announce that the budget vote this year for our 26-27 vote will be on Tuesday, May 19th, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Woodlands Middle High School Gymnasium. If you don't know where it is, it's at 475 West Hartsdale Avenue. And we hope to see you there. Thank you. That concludes our presentation, and we will open it up for questions.
Could you go back to the slide that shows that the tax rate per $1,000?
Yes.
Because I've got my tax bill sitting in front of me
Okay.
with a tax rate of 13.7778, as opposed to, let's see,
Yes. So
13.23. Yeah. So what's going on there?
So what I will say is the town assessor's office provides, for budget purposes, they provide the school districts rates as of March 1st. However, the tax rates are not finalized with the town until August of that year. So a lot of things can happen between March and August. I will tell you that the rates that you see here were the rates that were given to us from the town assessor's office.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So good to know. I know that if they have problems collecting, that I knew that they fiddled with the last couple of digits, depending on how difficult it was. People defaulted on their pilot agreements and things of that nature. They would have to, make sure that they deliver the amount that's promised, and they have a certain latitude to adjust that. Okay, thank you.
But to that point, that is beyond the control of the school district. That's all managed by the town.
I think he knows that.
It is, but I think.
Can I ask a question? I
Yes,
have a
so,
question.
just 1 second, what I think what's relevant about that though, is that are we budgeting at 1371 for next year? When Trustee Warner is pointing out that this year, his bill says 1377, so it's 0.5 more than what they are projecting.
Well, the other thing to
So-
note is that tax rate is
Yeah.
affected by the town assessment, and you see that the town assessment number has gone down.
Down,
Yeah.
okay.
So that affects the tax rate.
Okay.
Hey, Tracy, I had a question before you got on. All right. Can you go back to the first page when you started presenting and let me know what the new positions are in the district?
Sure.
I think when you started out, yeah, you listed
All
it.
right, hang on 1 second, I'm gonna get back there.
Okay.
So these are some of the proposed positions right now. When we're looking at teachers who may be out for various reasons, long-term, not long-term, like sick days, field trips. When we're trying to fill the classrooms with teachers there, our fill rate is about 3 to 5%. And so one of the things that we're trying to think about to be creative around it, and that's across the district, is how can we have subs that are building-based subs that come in pretty much every day, and they're there, so they're there to support. Even if teachers are being pulled out for CSE meetings, there's still coverage that's required. So that person can go from classroom to classroom and fill positions where teachers might be out for that day or what have you.
What do you have now? Just the teachers substituting for one another?
Yes,
Oh, that's not good.
yes. And
Okay, go
yes,
ahead.
That was the first part. The second one was just a couple of security aids. We are down a little bit, on security aids, but we're also looking at how they're allocated across the district. So this is just a proposed recommendation. Again, for even custodial staff, I'm looking at adding 2 more, but again, we're still looking at how they're allocated across the district. And then a security coordinator. So that would be someone that would help with the training, the scheduling, the filling of, even hiring of security aids, security monitors across all of our schools in our districts as well.
And what's the expenditure on
All
that?
right, just Trustee Warner, Ms. Jones was speaking, and I just
Oh,
wanted.
I'm sorry.
Before Ms. Jones will finish, then I acknowledge Ms. Geddes raised her hand, and then Dr. Perkins. I just want to acknowledge who I've seen so far. Ms. Jones?
You're muted. Ms. Jones, you're muted.
You can unmute her.
Sorry about that. My phone rang, so I muted it. Don't we now have a security person coordinator?
We do not.
Oh, we don't? Okay.
No, we don't. We do not. Right now, I'll be honest, I feel bad. Ms. Miro is kind of coordinating security and filling, absenteeisms and assigning people to other buildings right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go Ms. Geddes, Dr. Perkins, Mr. Simon, and then Trustee Warner. But first I want to chime in regarding the substitutes. I think this is a good time to mention. Some people may have seen signs around town. We are constantly hiring for substitute
Yes.
teachers. We do maintain a list. The problem is that we don't always get people in to actually fill the positions, which is why this option is being considered. So if you know of anyone looking for a substitute teaching job, please encourage them to apply. Okay, I said Ms. Geddes and then Dr. Perkins.
Just a question about you gave us a detail of the proposed budget.
We're gonna get to
And
that
we
in
haven't
just a
gotten back
second.
into that.
I just asked you a question. So on it, it shows the proposed budget, the budget from current year, and the expenditures from it, apparently like the current year,
Year to date.
year to date. So how much do those numbers change? Just because there's one line specifically for Bailey maintenance and the proposed budget for next year, the budget for this year is the same, 60,000. And then the expenditures for so far this year is just 10,000. So just trying to get a sense.
It depends, so every budget code is different. What I will say is the expenditures are year to date. So as of the date that I printed that report, which might be you can see the date on the bottom. So yes, it was this morning, it was this morning. Thank you. So we still have over 3 months left of the school year. I would expect that number to increase. And some budget, like, let's just say, if it's a budget code that they primarily use in the second half of the school year, there's some things that they don't do in the beginning of the school year. Maybe it's laptoping or, whatever the code is for. I would expect that code, to go up more than $10,000.
Is it possible to get that with an actual from 24 to 25? To see, just to have actual numbers?
Yeah.
Just for the room, we're gonna finish this presentation because we will go into that in a little more detail, but I want to have it pulled up so we can see specific lines as you're asking, but that's a good general question. Did you have any other follow-up on that question?
No, that's it.
Okay, right now it's Dr. Perkins and then Mr. Simon.
Okay, good afternoon.
Hi.
I had a couple of questions, one around the security, and I think I had gotten an answer on, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. On that, I wondered about with the increased security, about security in general, safety. I haven't heard much about safety of kids at schools. So could you comment a little bit more about security, the aides, the coordinator? Is that to improve safety for kids?
So let me just preface by saying that I don't want to make it sound as if safety is an area of concern on our campus or in our district. So that is not the case. What we're trying to do is really be proactive. Sometimes it's also an attendance thing too, and that's something that we're trying to work on with all of our staff. So what happens is if a security monitor is out at one building, like one of the elementaries, at least one security person there, and they're usually at the door, not supporting in other places throughout the building. With that, when that happens, we have to pull from another building, usually the middle high school, and then send someone over to another building. And so what that kind of does, it kind of throws off now the system that they have in the building that we had to pull that security monitor out of to provide coverage. Part of it also is we do have such a large campus, and right now it is still like an open campus at the middle high school. So thinking about how we can utilize and rotate people throughout the building, both sometimes inside and mostly sometimes outside, especially when the weather gets nice, right? So we're trying to make sure that we have people that can secure the outside premises. So just trying to be strategic. We don't want anything to happen on our campuses, but we're thinking about how we can best utilize our staff, our support staff in these areas. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, it did. The other one question I had was based on the substitute teachers and the hiring of substitute teachers. And what plans do you have to try to get more qualified teachers in the school system? You're right. We see all the signs beside the road, you're hiring, teachers. So what strategies and focus you have on trying to attract and retain more teachers?
So that's a multi-pronged approach. So to answer the first question around substitute teachers, we know that's a national issue across the board. We are not an anomaly when it comes to filling classrooms with substitute teachers. But we still want somebody that may be certified be a certified substitute teacher that can help and support in our buildings. So the first thing that we're doing is, one, we are having to readdress that substitute teacher list. We don't know how old it is, who's on it, if they're even still interested in subbing. And so in April, we are holding a substitute teacher, substitute administrator, a job fair on campus at Woodlands Middle High School. That'll be coming out. I think we just talked about that today with cabinet. So there'll be some things coming out more about that. So that should hopefully help us to build a substitute list, and not just teachers, but nurses.
Okay. All right.
As far as recruiting and highly qualified teachers, we have participated in several virtual job fairs already, where we've gotten some candidates and some for substitute teaching. We participated in the job fair that was sponsored through the National Alliance of Black School Educators. We did participate in that job fair, and later this month, we have a couple of teachers, Ms. Khan being one from this building, as well as Mr. Hanratty traveling to the West New York Teacher Recruitment Day, where we have 11 colleges from all over that area. In fact, that is where I was hired in my first teaching job. Years ago. Okay. So they're going there to recruit teachers as well. And then there's another one in Central New York. We have been to Iona to do some job recruiting. So I don't want people to think we're just traveling somewhere else. Our main focus is New York State, because then we don't have to worry about certification or reciprocity. With other states, it's harder to get the certification in New York State, but you could say New York State almost anywhere else. But we are doing local as well as outreach across the state for teacher recruitment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just one more is nothing is in the budget. You have a zero increase for supplies. Student focus and student center. Is there a reason for not an increase for textbooks and supplies for kids, especially if you have an objective of closing the achievement gap and looking at student success?
When building the budget, we felt that our equipment, textbook, and supply codes we're meeting the needs of our current programs. We didn't see that there needed to be an increase in those lines. So to be able to include other things, we kept them at 0.
But I also just ask the question as a follow-up, is it true that some of our educational tools are now available through those who can you speak?
Some of our curriculum is available through on the, it's not a hard textbook cover anymore. It's on the kids' iPad. So a lot of the textbooks and materials is available that way for the students.
Well, you know, that would be a comment in an area that probably I would recommend that, you know, you relook at some of the technology, upgrades to technology, other types of things that to keep our kids, you know, state of the art and on top of things. I really would like to see some funding in the budget, you know. That would be a recommendation.
I guess what you might be thinking about is like instructional resources and materials, not the curriculum. So we do have that as well. That might be in a different code other than textbooks.
Right, it might be categorized differently and not under that.
Right,
section.
and
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not
Any
sure,
other-
but it is definitely an area that, you know, I think if you're gonna have 0 there, I think that there needs to be probably some teeth in the explanation.
Okay.
And my last one is, I see a lot of your community budget presentations are at schools, and do you intend to take it, you know, like take it to the community, like take it to the churches, take it to your highest, for example, Stone Oaks, to take it to the community. I know that in the past, a lot of that has happened because a lot of people, you know, I mean, if they're not, I don't know how you're publicizing how this budget is being, presented to the community. But my recommendation would be that you look outside of the school environments and take it to the community as well.
Thank you, Dr. Perkins. You are correct. We actually did reach out to Stone Oaks as well as High Point. And we are actually going to be, what's the date?
April 6th.
April 6th. We will be presenting to the High Point community. We have not been, and I'm just gonna say it, successful this year at all with accessing Stone Oaks.
You know, I think that there is an opportunity with the to do that. I think it's just a matter of knowing when the dates of the budget meetings are. And I think the last time the budget meeting was, I was not here, and somehow the communication did not get to the president, but I would be happy to help with that.
If at a minimum, we could get in touch with you and drop off at a minimum some presentations.
Yes, we could do
At a
that,
minimum?
absolutely.
And I'll just say for anyone watching this at a later time, please contact budget@greenburghcsd.org. And I'm sure administration would be willing to schedule some visits, or we could provide you with additional information on meetings. I'll state for the meetings we have scheduled at the schools, we tried to move them around different neighborhoods, and we have more here at Bailey because we know there's a wider amount of people that can walk to Bailey from here. But the issue we were concerned about was having access to technology to include a virtual component. But anyone who wants materials or a phone call or a visit, please contact the district and we'll try to do what we can.
Thank you.
And did anybody reach out to like Union Baptist Church or, you know, places like that? I know that,
I'll be
you know,
honest.
people are there.
No.
Well, what about a community center?
Yeah,
We-
the Theodore Young Community Center.
Yeah.
We considered doing that, but because Theodore DeYoung Community Center and Bailey are very near each other, and we have the technology here to include a virtual component. That's why we have more meetings at Bailey, because it's the same basic neighborhood, but,
I know what you're saying, Chris, but I think if you take it to the center, they have the technology also.
Yeah, they do.
They have it for Zoom, so I think there are more people in that section who could walk or just come over to the center.
okay, we'll look into it further.
Thank you for that feedback.
Thank you.
It was Mr. Simon's turn, and then Trustee Warner, and then I haven't seen other new hands yet. Mr.
Okay,
Simon.
just clarification on your music budget, I think, did you say you're reducing
Next, two slides up.
or you're not increasing the staff in your music?
Any clip.
The staff in our music.
So,
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what that means. Are you reducing the staff, your music staff?
so that position has not been filled. So we're not reducing what we currently have at all. We're just now looking at or proposing reducing the position.
Okay, but because it have not been filled, I think a music teacher, if you look at all sorts of, the impact of music on the education of children. So the fact that it has not been filled, I think that means that we dropped the ball. I think that position definitely should be with music teaching, so that would be my recommendation, that position is filled. The other thing, a statement was made that that the vision you had that you would like the community to support that.
Yes.
I think that's good, but you should try to back it up with data. I mean, you have good data. Our scores are going up. The amount of improvement of the building itself is going up. Enrollment is going up. So you make the statement, but back it up with data. You have the good data, so why not reinforce it? Okay?
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
So what we do have planned, coming up over the next month or two, is we will be having presentations at the board meetings. One of the presentations will be focusing on a lot of our facility upgrades that we've done, and also technology. I believe we will also be presenting on our IB program and special education. So there will be presentations coming to focus on things that we have improved or we are improving in our school district.
And I would argue that when you go out, speak in various, don't just keep it in house.
I understand.
When you have at the board meetings, all the people who come to the board meetings, so they'll be additionally informed. But when you're going out and hopefully you reach the people who normally might not come to all the board meetings, that's the ideal place to tell those people.
Thank you.
That of all the great things that this district has a lot of good things to say. We have an excellent superintendent, we have a board that's working well, where the facilities are improving. The rolling is improving, scores you got a good story to tell, so we got the market.
So just tell the story.
Tell the story.
Graduation rate.
Embarrassing about telling the story. Okay, one last thing, it was about $845,000 in upfront investments. Is that similar to the question I asked before about the bond? Is that for the first year? You don't see the benefits of that until about a year after. So for the first year or so, we have to upfront some money. Is that the same balance here?
No, so what you're referring to is debt service.
Yeah.
So, let me see, where are we at with the debt service? Oh, yeah, I must ask.
It's $445 that goes to the federal fund. We front, that's the transfer to front the
He's
money.
referring to the $845,000.
Yeah.
So currently in our budget, which is for our energy performance contract, we have a payment between principal and interest of $1,960,711.
Right.
In May of 25, the district took out a ban of $3.250 million. That was part of a capital bond vote that was passed back in 2023, totaling, I don't have my numbers in front of me, but I think it's 9.625 million.
Mhm.
So the district didn't need the whole 9.625 million at that time, so they took out the 3.250.
Right,
When you do a ban for the first year, there's no payment.
okay.
So now this coming May, a ban is only good for 12 months. At the end of 12 months, you either have to pay that ban off in full, or you need to renew the ban, or you need to convert it to a bond, which would be a longer term
Right, okay.
borrowing. So we do still have to finish some of our capital projects that were part of that bond vote from 2023. So we will be renewing our ban and bringing it up to $8 million. So we are still staying below the total vote, capital
Okay.
bond vote of 9.625. So we will be renewing our borrowing, and the $845,000 will be in the 26-27 school year, where that includes the principal and interest payment on that band borrowing. Now, it's hard to predict the future, so many years out. What I would assume will happen, but things could change. In May of 2027, I hope that all of those projects that were part of that capital bond vote will be completed. If they are all completed and everything has been expensed out, and we know, or maybe even if we know we still have a few more bills to pay, at that time, we would want to convert to a bond, because it will reduce the payment. It will, I'm trying to think of the right word, like your interest rate becomes flat.
Right.
Nick,
And we would have a longer term payback on that. So that's where the 845,000 is. It's for the ban.
Okay, and my last question is about the interest we get on our savings account,
Right.
which is practically nothing, but short-term opportunity to get a high yield.
We do have high yield. We have 2 high yield accounts that we earn quite a bit of interest from. I can't give you the exact amount off the top of my head, but I will say that year to date, we're probably close to about 9,000 in interest income earned this school year.
Okay.
Can you show that slide?
That's under the revenue. So it says interest earnings. Current year budget is $1 million, and our proposed budget for 26-27. I proposed an increase of about $250,000, which would be 1.250 million.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now I'm going to recognize, I've seen trustee Warner, then Mr. Barrios, then Jessica Muldoon. Okay, trustee.
think that I called out the question about the security coordinator. How much, what was the compensation for that?
Trustee Warner,
Approximately.
I'm going to note that we usually don't negotiate against ourselves when it comes to singleton positions. That's all I'm going to say at this time. That's just me. Okay.
But I do think you can get that answer, David, and probably in an executive session.
Yeah.
To understand what they were budgeting for that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What the proposed salary would be?
So, right, so that's the
When it's
reason why
posted.
Chris was saying, we don't budget, we don't bargain against ourselves, because giving a proposed salary now kind of tells a person.
Yeah.
And it's not posted yet, it kind of tells the person what they can negotiate, yeah.
Do we get full benefits? Are all of those things
The question was, do all of the proposed positions receive full benefits? The answer was yes.
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 This position and other positions will be posted with like a range when.
If that's if we decide to move forward with that, so that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah, all of them would add up.
So to clarify, the slide that showed the addition, the dollar amount there is salaries on non benefits?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, trustee Warner, did you have something else?
Nope.
Okay, it'll be Mr. Barrios, then Jessica Muldoon.
Just a full disclosure that I'm speaking to the parent of the committee of this contract. Just full disclosure there. Just wanted to just like speak with regards to the article that I read about the growing trends in charter schools. And how they're impacting not only most of the states, but how they're now trending upwards into our neck of the woods. And in doing that, I might end up impacting like the sheer numbers that register for our schools. So in hearing that, I want to know if that's being addressed simply because it does impact how much funding we get from New York State, the numbers themselves, and then alongside people who require different needs, the increase that comes into the community, as well as the people that need busing to other schools. Like all those things, I think should be considered ahead, right? And put in, and I think that was something that Dr. Njoku said in the BOE meeting that is being considered. And segueing a little bit, I do recommend to everyone in the community to check out the BOE meeting that just took place yesterday, because the BOE did ask a couple of good questions that may not come up here. And the administration as well responded to those items, and I thought they were very informative. So I do recommend that you do check that out at youtube.com/Greenburgh. I'm still a parent. But one of the things that I did want to mention was one of the strong points was the music component that was brought up, which ties to the arts, but then goes again to something that Aaron Jacobson has a real strong passion for, which is the arts in general and their impact on our children. There was a strong support also from Ms. Mayors, and I think something also, and trustee Cuthman's, I'm sorry. There's an overall support for that, and I think it's very important because in this day and age, this is just a general statement, but with the introduction of smartphones, it has brought down, the cognitive capability of our kids as much as 30%. And then what we're doing is just simply trying to augment that by adding devices, and then what happens is that we introduce the Chromebook. Now kids are typing and no longer writing. That lessens the creative aspect of it. So then we're trying to support that. And now with the advent of AI, in the hopes that it's going to help save, budgets here and there. There needs to be a general understanding that at the end of the day, we need to continue to support the creative side of things, right? Because that's where, I think someone's point at the last meeting, this is where kids have their release. This is where they develop their passion for things outside of just things that are logic. The myth of left brain, right brain is true. We use our whole mind, right, to be able to think creatively. And I think it's super important to retain that. Having 3 kids and seeing how it's impacted their lives versus me, it is sad. The introduction of cell phones alone, it doesn't impact us because we were already developed, enough to compensate for it. But we need to find ways of keeping the arts in our schools as much as possible, supplemented. I think to Mr. Simon's point, finding ways of trying to keep that music teacher alive and well, or at least use that budget to be able to bring someone that can help reinforce that arts aspect would really benefit us a great deal, especially over the long term. And it might not be apparent to people in the short term, but I think in the long term, it helps preserve that level of creative thinking that I think our kids should have without having a set dependency on their electronic devices to compare, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that over the years of being here and the many budgets that I've been a part of, you know, there's a huge income communities that are, you know, composed of people who have fixed income, who are retired folks who don't have kids in the community, and they really want to know more about what this district can do, not only for them, but also, you know, just in general, like they want to get that information. And I hear Mr. Simon saying, you know, like, you have the data, you want to show it. So there has to be a meaningful way, because, you know, not to say anything about the statement that was put up there, which with regards to why we're budgeting for this and why it's important. But it almost sounds like the same story we hear every time budget season comes around. You know, oh, it's great because it helps support the kids, it does this, it does that. But in order to get the vote from the community that has the strongest voice in this community, we have to give them the information that they need. If not, you might, you know, might backfire. So I think, you know, listening to those people, like I think there's a lot of great points that were brought up. Trying to get into Stone Oaks, and listen, I mean, if we can hang a banner right at the end that people are driving out, like they can see our information. That would be great, like let's get a big sign, I don't know, like, you know, like every time they do like the musical, which is premiering this Friday, they always hang a huge banner out and right at Stone Oaks. We should have a banner there as of now, just promoting people to go onto the website and check out the information. And or to even have, you know, for the people who will claim that they don't have access to that level of technology, that offer the phone line, not just the budget app, but give them maybe a phone number that they can call and talk to somebody about it. Because some people won't, they you know, who have voting power will not, you know, that they don't watch TV, I mean, we don't have anything on radio. You know, it's just, we have to make sure that we have a very broad reach. No.
It's a piggyback off of what you were saying about the music. Mr. Barrios made some very good points, but I'm gonna add, one of the things that makes, I feel this community very unique is we try to educate our children, but well into their future. We care about what happens when they leave us, what happens when we become adults, whether they stay in this community or not. And the thing about art and the thing about music is that that's something you can do well into your adulthood, well into the geriatric years, whether your mobility is affected, whether you have different issues with relating to folks, whether you have different issues with different senses. Being involved with the arts and music are things that you can do for the rest of your life. So it's wonderful to give that to children when they're young.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we move on to Muldoon, I don't know if you want to chime into anything onto the first part of what Mr. Barrios was saying regarding, I'll just say for my part, I've been involved in some advocacy meetings and some learnings, as well as Dr. Chisholm, she's going to speak more to our the concern about charter schools and how that affects our finances, as well as the transportation in general. There's a lot of things about transportation. So we are keeping abreast of the issues, and Dr. Chisholm, I don't know if there's anything specific.
And I'll say that on a broader scale, not just locally, but regionally, there's a consortium of superintendents from the Lower Hudson. And because it has started to impact places like New Rochelle, right? So we've all started doing some advocacy around that and actually petitioning, because the charter school, the Student Charter School Institute is now making it a little bit easier. The threshold isn't there now to start a charter school. So we're really pushing back and writing these letters and trying to do some advocacy work in terms of saying, you guys, it shouldn't be this easy. And, you know, because of the dollars do follow the student. And a lot of times, and just even from my personal experience and accountability, in Western New York, we get students coming back to our public school building in April and May, but the money has already followed them to that charter school. Right. And so that's not fair to the public school system at all, even though charters are public. Yeah. So we are really keeping a close eye on that and really fighting back with SUNY and the Charter School Institute.
I'll just tag on that charter schools are public, the money follows the student, but they're public schools without the accountability of public schools and the responsibility of public schools to serve every student. And with the comments that are being said, it's unpredictable. It's one of the unpredictable items in the budget. We don't know, or we don't there's no requirement to give it notice by X date. That's one of the things we actually discussed on Monday. If they have it. So unfortunately, it's a difficult workaround. All we can do is help educate the public on how we can serve the students as best we can right here. And anyone who has questions about that, please reach out to the district. And I'm gonna take this moment before we go to Ms. Muldoon to state that the district's phone number is 914-761-6000. Please dial for the Assistant Superintendent of Business extension. It's again, 914-761-6000. I'm gonna
Extension
see
3108.
extension 3108. Okay, I'm gonna recognize Ms. Muldoon, her hand up, and then I see Dr. Perkins after that.
Thank you. I just also wanted to comment about the music teacher position. I have a child at Highview this year, so it's directly impacting us this year, not having that solid music program. And I have an older student who, while at Highview, participated in the music program in 3rd grade, is now in the band program at Bailey. And is really enjoying that program. And often when I talk about the district, I do talk about the marching band and how strong they are. We're starting to get they're out in parades, and so they are a visible reflection of the district. So I see it, I'd be curious what else would be happening with my child during that time. But just knowing the bedrock that forms and seeing it in my own kids, but then also seeing it in the marching band, I think, as much as, the boys basketball team tonight showed, what we can do, the marching band is a component of that. So I just wanted to add that in. The other is a few years ago, we had wondered if there was a way we're required to do the busing. Is there a way for parents to opt out? We have a lot of parents who do consistently drive their kids to school, that they don't use the busing service, and I know you have to still provide, have a seat available to them. Is there a way to explore that legally parents could say, I no longer need bus service, to potentially free up some space? I don't know if that's something to even be able to explore because of the requirements, but with the transportation costs, just wondering if that would help. Not advocating for longer bus routes than the kids have already, but if that might help to free up some space. So otherwise, thank you for the information.
I can confirm now that your memory is correct. Technically, I believe we're legally obligated to ensure there's a seat available for each student attending our schools. Even if the parent chooses to drive their child, we have to have a seat available in case something happens and that child can no longer be driven to the school. Of course, the one exception is students who live within the walking range. Those are the students there's different distances for different grade bands. I don't know it off the top of my head. Those are the children for whom we do not need to reserve a seat. There are occasions when we do reserve a seat for them just because of the difficulty of navigating the traffic. I don't know if there's anything else our administration can add at this time, but if not, we can follow up later.
I think you answered it.
Okay, we can confirm, we'll look into maybe confirming whether there's a legal mechanism to officially withdraw the need, but we'll just confirm the facts.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Muldoon, did that address all your questions? Did you have anything else?
No, that addressed everything, and I know it might not be likely, but it was just something we tossed around a few years ago, and just,
We'll follow up with legal just to confirm nothing's changed without our knowledge.
Yeah, but thank you very much for everything. That's it. You answered my questions.
Okay, Dr. Perkins?
She's muted.
You're muted, Dr. Perkins.
Okay. I did not get the name of the gentleman who was speaking in the room, but I wanted to just piggyback and comment on some of his thoughts about the senior community that you have in a lot of your communities that are here in Greenburgh that don't have kids. And I want to offer a recommendation that some language, some explanations about programs and what are you really going to do for students? You know, do you still have the baccalaureate program? There's you know, and that's why I brought up the whole thing about supplies and textbooks, maybe, you know, because it was such a, you know, it was zero there. I would recommend that you speak about what are you doing for students? If you're talking about closing the achievement gap, what programs do you have? If you're talking about equity, we want to spend our taxes. You're talking about a tax increase. You know, you're talking to senior citizens, 3.75. You know, that's a $70 a month it could be a big hit. And so what I would strongly recommend is that more of this budget, you talk about be student centered, right? Because that's really why people will spend tax dollars to support students when they don't have students. Here in Stone Oaks, I would say, you know, be persistent about really trying to reach out and get to this community, because there aren't any kids in this community. Out of almost 150 plus to 160 folks in here, we don't have any kids attending the schools. So when I go out and I want to help to say, vote yes for the budget, the first thing they say is, well, what are they doing for kids? So that would be my recommendation. I would want to hear more around what are you doing for kids? How are you going to close the achievement gap? What things are you doing for equity? You know, so that I can help pass that on.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for your feedback.
Okay, Ms. McGee? Was I Mr. Plummer? Ms. McGee?
Yes. So,
Yes.
whoever, but I think just the answer, I'm a little confused about that, so this capital interfund transfer. Is that within any numbers on these?
Yes, it's, if you go to the expenditure chart, that number is inclusive on the very bottom under the interfund transfers.
Okay.
And the balance, so we have two interfund transfers that kind of happen. We have a capital and we have a federal. So the total of the capital is what you see on that slide. And the difference in that line would be the, and I believe it's 425,000. That would be your federal transfer. And what we do is the general fund transfers into some of our federal budget codes to support some of our federal programs. So like, for instance, our Head Start program, we do have about a 20% in-kind piece that the general fund supports. We have some summer programs where we need to support some of the funding for that. So that's what the 425 is for. It's to support some of our federal programs. And the difference is the capital interfund transfer of the $514,348.
That's coming from the general fund?
Yes.
And the capital fund is different than the capital.
Yes.
Yes, the capital reserve is in the general fund, but we don't use that unless it is board approved. So this is not, this interfund transfer has nothing to do with the reserve.
Okay.
This interfund transfer has to do with capital projects in the H fund, because capital is H, that were overspent. So in other words, like, let's look at the mansion roof emergency. Maybe, but I wasn't here when they had this project. I don't know the exact numbers of the project. I'm just gonna use random numbers. Maybe the project was $100,000. At the end of the project, when everything was said and done, we paid $108,000. So on our financials, we show that code is in the negative. And what happens with capital projects is the general fund has to make them whole.
Tell me what that means.
It means that the general fund has to transfer money to the capital fund to zero out the negative.
Okay.
I don't know, I know I'm speaking like a different language, but I'm not sure, yeah, but you think like I do, so.
It's all good. They need to make it right.
Yes, yes, it was part of the.
Right.
That is like in your 100,000, so. I mean, but is it more than moving money around in a fund? Like, are we paying out more? Is more being added to the tax levy? Like, I don't understand.
Can I translate?
Yes, please.
Thank
Thank you.
I try to be. I'm trying to be helpful in translating finance language. If I'm not successful, someone else can take a stab at it. Basically, the general fund. And even in the capital fund, any projects that we're going to do during the budget year, whether it's repairing a roof or repairing a turf field or repairing.
Not repairing, please.
Or replacing a roof, has to be paid out of the capital. Those are restricted funds, funds that have been approved by voters for specific capital projects. And they're restricted funds for that year. Yeah, right, which is why they're separated from the general fund, because those are the amounts and the projects that voters have approved. So so every year we might, different years we might say, this year we're going to do the fire hydrants, and we estimate, because it's always an estimate based on our professionals, what the cost will be, and we move monies if we have them currently available from the general fund to the capital fund, or we get voter approval to take them out of our reserve fund, our piggy bank, and move them to the capital fund, because that's where we pay it in the current year. And those funds here can't be used for anything else because they've been approved by voters for specific projects.
Right.
So unfortunately, in some cases, projects have gone over budget for one reason or another. And this is, our auditors have noted this as he's been also for 2 years. And now that we were waiting to close it because we said, oh, this might not be a completely finished project yet. We'll wait until we know the final numbers. And now it's time to close out some of these. Now, last night, you may or may not have heard a question. There's a question out on one of these items, but this is most likely the plan for this year to take care of some of those balances. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Well, have we paid these bills? Are these like outstanding bills? Or
No.
have you already paid it out?
It's already been paid out.
So you're replenishing the capital fund?
So in other words, let's say you looked at a capital, I ran an appropriation status report for you in the H fund. Very similar to the appropriation status report you have in front of you. The difference is it would be much smaller because there's very few capital budget codes, maybe 20 at most. And if you were to look at the mansion roof emergency budget code, what you would see is a budget of 100,000, I'm using random numbers again, and you would see expense 108,000. Your available balance would be negative $8,000. You're not allowed to have negative budget codes. Those are supposed to be made, cleaned up at the end of every year. The only way to clean it up is to budget in the general fund and transfer the money over into capital. So we would transfer of the 514,348, we would transfer $8,000 into that budget line. So the ending amount would be 0. There's nothing else being paid out of that code, it's done.
Okay.
It's gone. Once it's 0, it's made inactive, it's done, you're never seeing it again.
Okay, and you had to say this to the budget to about it?
I'm sorry.
Okay,
And that has to be approved
sorry.
by the public, which it is if they vote yes on the budget.
Okay.
Yes, so it's part of the budget, and we as a school district have to be transparent in our budget presentations and show you what our capital interfund transfer would include for the next year's budget.
Okay, so here's my second question. What line, I mean, it's in the appropriated one, but any money new money that's being budgeted in the new year for infrastructure, for capital?
So
Where
it
would that
we're in a variety of places, so it depends on what infrastructure you're referring to. Could you give me an example of an actual? I mean, are you referring to like updating the life skills classroom? which could encompass cabinets and maybe a new stove. It depends what you're referring to.
I guess I say it because in prior years, like there have been slides that we often, I guess, in prior years, were budgeting for something that was.
So what you can
not
expect
ready.
to see.
And I just remember doing that, like 1.3 million, but it might have been the interfund transfer.
There was projects on there in prior years. We, you know, to keep the tax cap as low as we possibly could, we did not add. So that particular budget line has actually been reduced by about $485,000 from the 25-26 budget. And that was to try to be conservative in our budget and keep the tax cap as low as we possibly could. So you do not see additional projects listed on the capital interfund transfer. Within the general fund budget itself, though, I think that there is some talk about some smaller projects in-house that we could possibly do.
Which can remain in the general fund because they're more
Yes.
maintenance and upkeep and furniture replacement, et cetera.
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
Or we need to repair a wall in a bathroom or something.
Yes.
If it were a bigger project, it would need to go through there.
So I think what you can expect to see in future budget presentations coming forward is a little bit more of a detailed explanation on some of the equipment things that we're planning, which has to do with some different, so, you know, depending on the cost of an item would determine whether it can come out of an equipment code or a supply code. So there's some things like if we needed to buy student chairs or student desks, we could probably use the supply code for that. So I do plan on giving some examples of things that we plan to use and to purchase in the next school year.
So the next presentations will be, I want to say, a little bit more explicit or detailed rather. So you'll see those things even coming from the teaching and learning department, or the instruction department. So that might answer some of the questions that Dr. Perkins had too, in terms of the instructional, any textbooks, materials, instructional resources that we're using. But it'll be explained a little bit more in detail as those future presentations come.
And this is helpful because then you can hear directly what people want to hear
Yes.
more about.
I am mindful of the time, it is 8:24. Are there any other questions on this overall presentation? I would like to go back to Ms. Geddes' initial question. We did provide in the shared drive as well as here in person, I don't know, bring up the wrong paper. Appropriation.
Are we gonna move to
Well,
that?
I'd like to just come, a little more detail of the budget codes. Specifically the spending the appropriations report. I don't think tonight we'll have time to go through line by line by line, but if anyone has had an opportunity to take a look at it and wants to ask about specific questions, we can take those now. I will state at the upcoming meetings, now that we've gone over the general presentation, we'll probably start with this document. But if anyone has had a chance to look at this and has questions on the appropriations report, now is the time. And Mr. Johnson, if you're able to bring up this document.
So, since I've had a chance to look at it.
Yes.
On page 22 of 36, for example, because I am president of the Bailey PTA, I was thinking specifically for Bailey items. And I realized that in the end, it's a nickel and dime thing, when it comes to a budget size. But around the middle of the page, it says arts, music, and ALP supplies, RJB.
I'm just gonna, so 2110450-06-001.
Exactly, that's the one. It's page 22 of 36.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows that the proposed budget and the budget for the present year is $1,000, while the current expenditures year to date is a little over $4,000. So these are the kinds of things that, you know, as a Bailey parent, you know, we go, wait a minute, what happened? Is it? I realize there's a lot of possibilities that maybe something from last year got thrown into this year. That's a possibility. Just wondering how do things like this, because there are a few other anomalies, just a few pages down, a few lines down, literacy supplies, RJB. It's the 0005 line,
I see it.
where it shows an expenditure of over 13,000, where the proposed need, and then this year's budget is both 5,000. So what are things like that, how does that play into this?
I can answer that. So when I am building the budget, I'm looking at a much broader scope. I probably go back at least 3 years. So I'm able to look at multiple years, multiple expenditures, budgets, things of that nature. What you can't see on this report is that the expenditure line does include carryovers and accounts payable. So I'll just explain a little bit about what those are in case anybody doesn't know. But at the end, probably around May or June, the business office starts to liquidate and close out all of their purchase orders and different things like that. So by June 30th, we need to have all of our purchase orders closed out, zeroed out. We have 3 options when that time comes. If the purchase order has not been used, oftentimes we liquidate it. That puts the money back available into the budget status. If the items have been ordered, but they have not been received by June 30th, we have to carry them over. What it does is it carries it over into the following school year's budget per se. But from an accounting standpoint and from our auditors and financials, it keeps the accounting in the prior school year. So it is a little bit hard to digest because if you had a little bit of a more detailed appropriation status, what you would actually see just for current year, we're just going to talk about current year. You would see the first line that says budget. That will match the number that the voters approved on the budget vote. The second column would say adjustments. So those carryovers or accounts payable, when we move them over, they end up in the adjustment column. The third line is like a final budget, which takes your voted budget plus your adjustments and your total dollar amount. The expenditures include all of those amounts. So accounts payable, for anybody that wants to know what that is basically we order the goods and services, we receive them before June 30th, but we haven't been billed yet. So we have to code them as an accounts payable, and from an accounting term, it's a 600 code. And then we pay them when the bill comes in July or August.
I'll also just note, for the record, as part of the transparency of the board, every regular meeting, most regular meetings, you would see an agenda item called Treasurer's Report. We do make that fully publicly available. You can pull it up and you can look at the version that Ms. Merrill just referenced. You can look at the original budget amount, the adjustments that were made. I'm looking at this line right now in our latest report. The adjustments that were made, the adjusted budget, what's been expensed, what's projected to be expensed, and what's available. So anyone can pull that up on board docs in our agenda item with the regular meetings. I saw Ms. Geddes, did you have any further things? Then I see Ms. Swaylift and then Mr. Simon, and then Trustee Warner.
Yeah, thank you. So if I understand the explanation correctly, then this $1,000 number could potentially go back up to 4,000, or is that?
No, I did not increase it because I saw over the last 4 years, it has steadily stayed $1,000.
So if you don't use it,
Yes.
When
But
it was
yes and
increased
no.
Last year,
Yes.
items had to be transferred. Could you speak to?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so what happens is, a school district is only allowed to, at the end of a school year, carry over a 4% fund balance. So what, Greenburgh, it has been very conservative for many years in how they use their budget. So oftentimes they end up with in excess of that 4% fund balance. what the board approves is that the excess gets transferred into the school district's reserves. So when we liquidate a PO, the money goes back as available funds. And whatever our total ending number is, anything above the 4% fund balance would be board approved to go into the different reserves. And they choose which reserves they go into.
And there is
After
a
a
reserve
recognition.
report available on the district website.
Yeah.
It's our way of helping to flatten out any peaks and valleys in the budget over time. That's the generic term. Description, but I don't know if that addressed your question.
So
fully.
then if there was an expenditure above $1,000 for RJ Bailey in this line, we could ask, or could the question be asked that whatever that overture would be to come out of the, what did you say, reserve?
If
fund?
it was a carryover, from the prior year when I was doing a deep dive into the budget code, I would not increase that code, is what I was saying.
It may have been some, that, for example, Bailey may have seen that they weren't using. Sorry.
You could have,
They might not have been using a different code, so we had to do a small transfer from one code to another code to account for that purchase that they preferred to make here rather than there.
Yes, so oftentimes we
Like
do
I
get
said.
budget transfer requests from the buildings, because they manage their own budget codes. So sometimes they may, have expended a different budget code and they needed to purchase things and they chose to use that code.
so they needed supplies and they didn't use all their field trip allocation, so they moved some money?
For example.
There'll be a lot of different things.
Right, okay, so that explains why it'd be more than twice, right? Because if this year's budget is 1,000 and last year's budget is 1,000, the maximum it would normally be was 2,000 unless they decided somehow to overspend by taking something from another category. Okay. So then that explains my question, which is on the same page. It was A2110450-04, which was teaching supplies in Highview. And they went for $42,697 instead of, and they're budgeted for 27,000. So they exceeded by quite a bit. Okay, fair enough.
211045004
04.
27. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you see, right.
Yeah.
It bothered me too. Okay. And then, wait, I'm sorry, it's not my turn.
I'm just nodded to Mr. Simon. I haven't forgotten him, but
Okay.
you have the floor, Trustee Warner, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, go on to the previous page. There's a whole raft of teaching and travel expenses that have no expenditures. The A211 448-000.
Page 21 and 36.
Page 21. And the expenditures so far, yeah, see how there's a complete blank for several entries for expenditures. So no one has entered any expenditures yet for all their travel and conference. And I would expect that by the time we get to this month, something would have happened.
Most of these are IB. And when I met with Dr. Faruqi, it seems that from now to June 30th is when these lines are going to be used.
Okay, so it's all planned for second half. Okay, then A2110450-00, which seems to have it's in parentheses. I don't know what does that mean that you're using I mean, if it's a negative expenditure, does that mean they're crediting back something?
No, it means that it's over budget and we'll have to do a transfer to zero it out.
Okay, good. And A210167, we're going backwards now.
What page?
-05, page 19. A2110 167-05, teaching regular school ECP hourly noon aides. And there were no registered expenditures.
That is a salary code. So I will tell you that noon aides are hourly employees, they are not contractual, and they fill out a timesheet and get paid when they work. So I can't off the top of my head tell you why nobody's been charged out of this code yet without looking into it, but I can tell you that an hourly employee only gets paid when they actually work.
Okay. I'll just let me stop there.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Simon?
Oh, okay, going back to the art and music budget, that was $1,000 and now. Oh, $4,000 and now 1,000, that's on page 2236.
Page 22? Page 22?
Yes.
Page 2236.
Okay.
Art music, about halfway down that we get the NC 0001.
Yes.
Who we talked about before. One of the things that might help the public, because when you look at this number, you say, that's a 75% reduction, that's ridiculous. So one of the ways in any budget, there's anomalies that will fluctuate from year to year. But if you look at a multi-year budget, you know, you can, so one of the ways that could do it is that you put another line. I don't know what that would take in terms of changing the program. But you have another line that gives you the 4-year average. So you take a 4-year average, then you can see, oh, you know, it just gives you a perspective. That's not it's not a usable number, but at least it gives people the perspective. So when they look at numbers like this, it doesn't jump out on them that you're doing a 75% reduction, which you're not.
But if you look at it, it's not a reduction. So the budgeted amount for 25-26 is $1,000.
That's right.
The budgeted amount for 26-27 is $1,000. So there's no reduction in the budget. The expenditure is 75% higher,
That's right.
which we just talked about and we said could have been the result of carryover funds, meaning they technically were part of 24-25.
I understand,
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that.
Okay.
But regardless of what you budget, a key point is what you actually spend.
I understand.
Okay? And there's a valid reason why that's different. But for the average person looking at it, is that how could you budget $1,000 when last year we paid $4,000? This is ridiculous number.
Right.
Without having that background. So without going all the way through the budget and making that analysis, if it just a line here, the 4-year average for this was $1,000, and say, oh, the question goes away. If the 4-year average, you do that. So just a suggestion to make it more understandable.
No, I understand. Thank you for your feedback. And also just want to note that sometimes there are expenditures that are one-time expenditures. So I'll just give an example of Woodlands. This year we did purchase furniture for 4 classrooms. Maybe we don't anticipate purchasing furniture for 4 classrooms next year. So our expenditures could have gone over budget where we needed to do a transfer. But do we need to increase that amount for next year?
Right.
It's not always necessarily the case.
It may be helpful just to take a couple of examples in different sections, areas. Because even just on this page, there's things like literacy supplies that are at $5,000 and only $300 were expended. So someone may look at that and have some confusion around that, why we budget again for $5,000 if only $300 is an expense. Are there expenditures, as you said before, that come at the end of the year, just having kind of some of those ready, to be able to explain. Certain ones seem to go way over, were there an anomaly this year, that might be helpful, even if you just take one or two for each page in a way, and be able to talk to that, or one or two for each building, these are broken down by building codes, that might be helpful to the community here.
Sure.
Can you put a notes column in?
No.
A notes did you say a notes column?
Yeah,
No, only because this is this comes out of our software system. I'm not able to modify the report.
The question that someone might ask is, if you have budgeted $4,000 for this school year, why is the school year 3/4 over and you haven't spent it? Why aren't you spending the money on the students that you plan to spend?
I understand, Heidi, how are you? I understand what you're saying. Sometimes it depends on when things are happening during that year, but it could be programmatic, it could be a lot of different things, but I understand the perception of what that looks like. A lot of times what we try to do is we try to see where we are at a certain point, especially mid-year. And even when we're thinking about certain accounts, we're looking at where are our expenditures at this point in time. Depending on what is through, it might say, maybe we don't need this because we aren't expensing it, but that's usually when we're looking at other appropriation reports. So I do understand the perception of what that looks like.
And I think you had a good explanation too about, for example, the maintenance with pavement, for example. Paving may be something that's done in the last quarter and after the spring hits,
Yes.
you know, before you go through and use the rest of that money for that, and they have a chunk of it untouched, but just being able to speak to it, I think is helpful for folks when they see it.
Okay.
I used to just note my budget time sensitive. You just know, TS. So if a bill comes through in September, it looked like I had to be sitting on all this money, or the reverse. So you just want this time sensitive, so the bill doesn't come in, you don't get 12 bills a year, each month. You get one bill in October. So people say, okay. No, I mean, that's just a way of, I don't know how, whether or not your budget is flexible and your program is flexible enough to do that.
Right.
But these are just little things that add clarity to the budget.
No, I totally agree. And I think the one thing that will be easier for me next year is that I will have been through a full cycle. So, you know, I've been here since the end of August.
Yeah.
I haven't made it a full year yet. And with school districts, there are a lot of things that are cyclical, right? So once a full cycle has gone, I'll be a little bit more used to what occurs when. And it will probably be a little bit easier then.
Are there any other questions at this time? I'm gonna note it's 8:45 and we do have other meetings scheduled. Seeing none, I'm gonna go back to the agenda and note, as we noted earlier.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
It always comes up, it's always a place of interest for families, is this contract transportation for field trip. This comes up every year, everyone always comes finally up this year.
okay,
On page 33 of 36 for the end here. We have contract for transportation athletic trips, contract for transportation field trips, Liam Jackson field trips, Highview field trips, ECE. Field trips are available for field trips Woodlands Hill. Right, so this is one of those lines that looks as if things are not expense, but there are thousands of dollars in those lines, and that tends to come up and be important to parents every year, so just want to that another.
Well, I also think that springtime is a busy time for field trips, right? I think where were we where someone just said that the Jackson is going on a field trip? I think it was today at the Student of the Month. They have a field trip, I think, this week. So, you know, as the weather gets nicer, they'll start to go on a lot more field trips, and I would expect the expenses to start increasing in those codes.
I can confirm that those codes are fully encumbered, they're planned to be fully spent.
Yes.
Because we have had a lot of field trips already.
Okay, so at 8:46, I'm going to note, our next conversation about the budget, we stated earlier, will be this Saturday, March 14th, here at RJ Bailey during the RJ Bailey PTA meeting, which begins at 2 p.m. Ms. Geddes, do you know what room, people should go to hear that conversation?
I believe I reserved the auditorium and the gymnasium, so kids can go to the gymnasium. And then parents, we're building it as a family fun day. And that's why we're having a meeting, because the meeting will be fun. And there will be pie. Round objects to eat. So, please join us.
I didn't get it.
I did.
That's what she said.
Can I ask you a question about the meeting? I'm going,
It may be the cafeteria, it may be, I'll have to check, it's been a little while, and, but there'll be things to eat, and there'll be community, and there'll be talk, and there'll be discussion,
Yeah.
and there will be basketball.
Okay, so my question for you, since we'll be coming to be a speaker at your meeting. What type of technology do you have, or do you not have technology set up?
So, I was thinking that I was keeping it low tech when I filled out the request. So I think that I didn't ask for anything. I need to review my.
Well, I will tell you though that I don't think we have tech available for that day.
Yeah, it's your PTA meeting, so
It's
there's
your
no
PTA
virtual
meeting,
component,
but I don't.
but
have
anyone's welcome
anybody
to come to the
help.
PTA meeting.
So I believe that we will be very low tech.
Okay.
That day, so that we can keep it to maybe paper and handle.
Handouts.
Yeah,
And we will be keeping it to a discussion
yes,
and to limit the time. As well as to make sure that Ms. Merrill's available to answer the questions.
absolutely. I mean, the one thing that I'll just mention, I said it earlier, is we are taking all the feedback that we are gathering this week to make changes to the proposed budget, but those changes won't be delivered, so to speak, in an updated presentation until the March 25th board meeting. There just isn't enough time between last night, tonight, and Saturday to take care of all that. So I don't want people to be disappointed when they're receiving the same information that they got tonight. So just understand, we're looking for feedback, appreciate it all, and we're gonna gather all of that, and then administration will work together to just, take the music teacher recommendations and everything else into consideration.
I was like, we hear you.
We hear you. That's what I wanna say. We hear you.
So the agenda and the district calendars all outline our upcoming meetings. We've heard feedback tonight about how to reach out to the community members can reach out to us, that we will see about arranging other civic organization meetings. There's information on the agenda about the voting, but we'll go into that in more detail at a future meeting since it's late. Also, we touched on briefly some advocacy efforts that Dr. Chisholm and I, as well as the full board, have been involved in. Included in the shared drive is some of the background information. We actually got today the state assembly and Senate version conversation or response to the governor's proposed budget. So I'll be more up to speed on that by the next meeting. And to see what our final state aid numbers might look at. But if anyone wants more information on the advocacy efforts, see the shared drive, contact me. Same budget resources are in the drive. I'm gonna just say, Trustee Warner, I'm gonna turn over to you to summarize. If you go down to number 8, please.
Okay, sure.
For the community.
Okay, yeah, drop down to number 8.
Yep.
Okay, In honor of Black History Month, we wanted to remember Reverend Dr. Lewis W. Hughes, and there is an attachment. Look for Hughes A. Doc.
Keep going.
Okay. The Reverend Dr. Lewis Hughes was born July 25th, 1881 in Fluvanna County, Virginia. He graduated from Virginia Normal and College Institute in St. Petersburg, Virginia, and received his doctorate of divinity from Northern Baptist University in New Jersey. Reverend Dr. Hughes came to Greenburgh in 1919 to pastor Union Baptist Church on Manhattan Avenue, and he served there for 40 years. At the same time, he was elected to the Greenburgh number 8 school board in 1932, where he served for 25 years. It is believed that he was the first African American who served on a board of education in New York State outside of New York City. There were people from the like 1880s that made it into various boroughs of New York, but if you got out into the suburbs, that kind of thing didn't happen. So he had considerable opposition. He helped introduce the school system to the Princeton Plan, adopted by the board in 1951, which is before Brown versus the Board of Education, which meant we were like the progressive school district, which helped keep schools from becoming segregated. The Princeton Plan continues to this day. So every child in the district goes to every school. And that's kind of a major accomplishment. In 1981, the hallway outside of Woodlands Middle High School's auditorium was dedicated to his memory and has been then named Hughes Hall. So if you happen to walk into the lobby on your way to the play and look over at the painting in the lit thing in the display in a corner at the very front of the building, that's Hughes. So that's in his memory.
Go back to the agenda.
Just a quick question or an observation. I mean, so does it make sense for us to refer to it as the Hughes auditorium from here on out? Because every time we communicate out.
Hughes Hallway, the hallway, the common area.
Right. He's trying to name the auditorium after Hughes as well. I don't know. Has anybody named the auditorium after anything?
Not at this time.
Okay.
When I donate.
So that's a suggestion. Well, no, we have a naming convention and we could fill out an application. Name the auditorium.
I will point out it's 8:54. David, let's go to item B on your.
Okay, varsity boys basketball game, regional semifinals. So we won. We're doing it for a three-peat, right? So we took section 1. And we're gonna game at 5 p.m. I think I've got a bunch of text messages that say we won the 67-50. And the next, I guess the next basketball game is on the 14th at SUNY Farmingdale at 6 p.m. and we're versus Carl Place. So the march to the state continues. So if you want to ride along, our boys are doing it.
And Trustee Warner, one of our players, Noah Cherubin, was voted Low HUD Player of the Week. He won today.
And I think some of the board members were busily voting to make sure that happened. So all good. 3/12 will be the STEAM night and the IB Visual Art exhibit, and that'll be in Woodlands from 6 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. On 3/13 through 3/15, Woodlands Spring Musical, The Lightning Thief. That's a Percy Jackson thing. We did a bunch of upgrades to the lighting system so they're going to make use of these upgrades and special effects for The Lightning Thief. So come and see that. It's Friday 7 p.m., Saturday 5 p.m., or Sunday 2 p.m. That's 13th through 15th. On
David,
on
Trustee Warner, David, before you move forward, I just want to point out that the event on Thursday, the evening, is the STEAM night and an IB visual art exhibit. It's a gallery walkthrough from 6 to 7:30, but during the daytime on Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., student artists will be presenting they will be available for discussion of their pieces. So the public is also welcome to visit the high school between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Thursday to have a conversation with the artists as well. So
good.
two things. Okay, go ahead with your letter E.
Okay, letter E. 420 Board of Education candidates filing deadline. So get your nominating petitions in. If you want to be on the Board of Education, you know who I'm talking to. And then item F, 4:30 K-12 art show at the Greenburgh Town Hall from 5 to 7 p.m. and with a CEC meeting to follow. And I should remind you to be thinking about the Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award. So you can, Trustee Mayers has volunteered to be the board member who's a judge, and we're working on trying to get some other people lined up as judges. And so if you see anybody in the community or even a teacher or a staff member who goes above and beyond what's in their job description for our students, the Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award nominating rules and there's an online form. You can nominate them if you can come up with a sentence or two as to why you think they deserve the award. Just go to About Board and then look for Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award on the menu on the right-hand side and go in there and fill it out. And the award is given out in June. That's it.
Okay. At 8:58, are there any additional finance or community engagement concerns that people want to bring up at this time? And if not, is there any motion to adjourn? Trustee Nance?
Just real quick. Talking about outreach for the budget, I'm thinking about younger families as well. Is there plans to maybe touch up some of like, the daycare centers or anything like that to talk to the younger families as well, get them out to vote, encourage them to vote, anything like that? Have you thought about that as well?
We haven't thought about daycare centers.
Daycare centers.
I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
places where they're young.
I mean, we didn't think about the churches either until it was brought up tonight, so,
We did think about the community.
Yeah.
Housing, the living, for our.
like High Point.
Like the
and
High
Stone-
Point,
Yeah,
that's what
Stone
I'm
Oak.
talking about.
So we are going to continue to try to reach Stone Oaks. We're already scheduled for High Point, and I'm not sure where else we could set something up.
I'd like to just ask Mr. Barrios, in previous years, we've had, in addition to the newsletter that gets sent out, we've had, postcards created, right? And we drop them off at the library and other places just to inform. Is that the cards for this year? I don't know.
I didn't know you guys did that.
Okay, you have a chance. Okay.
We meet on
Yeah.
Friday.
The town hall is a good drop-off place.
Do we ever show a video?
There's a video on the website. But
And
it's,
people are gonna know it's there, so look at it.
But we're talking.
yeah, we're talking about doing another video.
But anyway, if there is a video, are we able to see how many views we get? Are we gonna track that? I'm just curious to see how many people actually.
I'm sure you can track that. I think.
You can track down on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we get?
And also when we blast out with regards to the video, the principals blast out their communications at the end of every week. You can embed the video in there, budget video, so parents that get that principal communication can also click on that.
And the good thing is if they're using the same video that's being sourced, like for instance, if it's housed in our YouTube channel. And all these other platforms are pushing people to go to that, then it's a centralized place where we can get that information, how many views are actually. I'm curious.
Okay.
Is this budget calendar on like the Instagram?
It is on the budget page on the district website. I don't believe we put anything out on Instagram.
No. And
You have a general plug to visit our dedicated URL, which is
Yeah.
greenburghcsd.org/budget. That'll take you to that page with the latest 26-27 information, and then from there you can click to all of the available information as it becomes available.
We
That's
also.
a lot of steps, if we could just have. Like a post.
You can house.
These dates, I think that would be.
Just like you mentioned, like, it was posted on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can.
So there are some, we have broken out.
I'll note at
Oh,
this
Facebook.
time.
Oh, it's on Facebook, okay.
When we create images with QR codes, I've heard from many people the frustration with. I have no clickable link.
Right.
Please, so please include
I
a
can
clickable
speak to
link.
that. I can speak to that, but I know that's not the form.
Right, anything else from here?
We need to be able to get the information without going through multiple steps. You log on to the school site, and you log on to this, you have to click on it. It should be, I would recommend that in all our correspondence, we have the site. You click onto that, goes directly to our budget section without going through all these steps. So I don't know what that would require, but everything we send out is right there. You just click onto that site and go direct.
So I will just say for the budget website, if you go to the main page, so if you go to greenburghcsd.org, the main page, there's a bar along the top. And I don't know, it might be the second one in, I can't remember exactly. It says. Third one in, thank you. It says budget.
Okay.
If you click on it. Thank you, Luke. If you scroll down, Katie, here you're gonna see our full schedule. After every board meeting, we put the presentation and the actual video of the meeting. So what you don't see yet, because I haven't given it to Miguel, is last night's presentation.
It's up there.
Oh, is it up there? Did you put both English and Spanish?
Yes.
This board meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
And
So after every presentation, a board meeting presentation, we put it here. Can you scroll back? So every date that you need and all the different meetings and stuff is all added here right on this page. So it was one click. If you go up, do you see on the right-hand side? Yeah, you went too far. Sorry. We gotta go down a little. Do you see where it says 25 to 26? Can you click on that, Luke, right above 26? If you click here and you scroll down, this is all of last year's information during budget season. So as the budget season continues, we will continue to add things to the page. There isn't a whole lot of clicks.
Right. Okay, but I'm saying.
That's good work.
Information, what I'm saying in terms of getting the information out to the public.
Okay.
Every piece of paper that we send out, it should be at the bottom, should be that address. So every piece of paper, that's how you constantly drawing people to that budget. Because I think it's an excellent budget. Like I said before, we're doing a good job, so.
Thank you.
Let the public know about it. Let the public know.
Thank you.
The budget. On the thing on the app. Okay,
I missed that part of the conversation. I heard you say Stone Oaks, I heard you say, High Point. Are you reaching out to this side of town, the Fairview community, get them to come out to you? What happened with Saturday? We're here now. I know we're here, but we're talking about reaching out into the community so that those who don't have children in the school have a chance to find out what's going on.
We said earlier, they should do
Church.
the churches, and then also to CEC.
Okay.
We have to, we didn't go in that direction yet, but now going into recommendation, we're gonna look at, we're gonna meet next week and see what we can do. You're welcome. If you have any recommendations of places that would love for us to come in, it would be nice to know, because it would save us time. I don't know, blanket calling people.
Well, if they love it or not, they just need it.
Thank you.
Necessarily love it.
But really the best thing, I bring my neighbor to vote. She is retired, she has no assets in the community other than her house. And I just bring her to vote with me and we make a day of it, or, you know, an outing. So if everybody adopted a
Senior
senior citizen,
That's true.
and drove them to Woodlands, because otherwise she would not find it. And, you know, I chose wisely because she's a supporter, and also she knows my kids. So, you know, if you could identify that neighbor or that friend who otherwise wouldn't go to vote, who has the ability to vote, we could almost double the people who are voting.
I think that's wonderful that you did that, and I hope more community members will do that. As school district officials, we are somewhat limited in what we can do to persuade people and say and do, you know, we're here to advertise what the vote is. We would love for more people to come out and vote. We hope they're gonna support the budget. But there are certain things that we can't say and do.
Right.
You know, I can't really go shopping for people to vote yes.
But I as a community member can tell you, vote yes. or
Yes,
no.
you can. You guys can do it. You guys can help us out.
The non-board members can, yeah, okay.
Well, we need people to
Can
vote.
get people,
I
yeah,
don't have to tell them how to vote.
Right, so we're gonna tell them to vote.
and you're gonna tell them what you want to tell them.
Wait, wait, wait. That's what they were talking about, a postcard that goes out. So there will be a budget newsletter. There will be a budget book. For once, oh, I'm sorry, 2 months ahead.
I'm just monitoring who wants to talk.
There'll be additional communications coming out. I'm done now.
Okay, are there any other questions? And then I'm gonna give the last word to Dr. Chisholm. I see no other questions, so Dr. Chisholm?
Okay, I just wanted to share a save the date for the community in advance early. June 15th, 7 p.m. as part of the Community Engagement Committee meeting. We will be doing the dedication of the field in our Edward Eller Memorial Field. And so I want to make sure I share that with the community now. Please look for a save the date to go out to the community to invite them on. June 15th. June 15th.
No, 19th is
June 19th is June.
It's a Monday, I think.
Edward Eller, he's a former superintendent, custodial superintendent. Many years ago, here for the district.
He built the football field.
I'm sure at the next CEC meeting, there'll be a fuller description of Mr. Eller, right, David Warner?
I've been trying to get a photograph, but we have a description, yes. We have a plaque.
Yeah, so we might have something for you.
Okay, if there's nothing further, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 9:09. Thank you all so much.
Let's not talk about that. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not gonna get you. I'm going to.